So with our handsome Mr. Z, oh my goodness, look at that little face, is I wanted to work a bit with his stay. So again, I know we've been working with this since we've been starting in classes when he was a wee little baby. So getting your babe to feel comfortable, targeting a zone, working a bit with his place behavior, and building up that we can relax and still feel comfortable as other things are happening is something I would still keep working on and building on. So even though we might feel that certain behaviors have become more refined than others, there's going to be moments where you thought something was very well rehearsed and well, laid down, and then all of a sudden your puppy surprises you with forgetting how to rock something, or they forgot what was going on. So there's going to be plenty of moments, just like with us, where we feel like working at certain things and other times where we're like not so interested. So make sure that if you're ever having an off day with your puppy, that you don't force the situation and get frustrated and overwhelmed from both ends. There's plenty of moments where, you may not be in the mode of working with your babe, and it's perfectly fine to give them things to work on instead. So they could be doing some different types of enrichment, like maybe Kongs, or doing scatter feeding in the grass, or whatever is available. So right now I'm going to go ahead, I'm just going to tell them to stay. And I'm just going to see if I can start to add a little bit of distraction. So remember, with those 3 Ds, you want to build in your duration is normally the first thing I like to work on. So the time frame that my puppy can wrangle and hang out in a spot and do well with a skill, typically in the beginning is short and sweet. Then as they become more comfortable, I start to extend the time frame between these snack intervals. And eventually this becomes really sort of, again, a bigger gap between the feedings. So right now we do have some lovely noises. There's the train going by. There is some construction or some noises in the building. So all of those things are helping to create the other D, which is your distraction level. Obviously, the other of the 3 Ds is your distance. So how far can you get from your dog, or how far can they get from you while they're still being successful in their steps? So right here, we're just going to, again, work with this lovely stay. And I'm just going around the bubble and just feeding him for being stationary. If, let's say, he's doing a really great job and I'm trying to add a little difficulty, I might make some noises, see if he can handle it. Again, if your puppy breaks, which means they got up and they moved from their position, you're not going to scold or get overwhelming or scary for them. You would just restart the game and see if you can get another couple good reps and go from there. So again, I'm just going to make some crinkle noises, just make some noises, move some things around. Nice. And right there, go back and feed the handsome guy for being stationary. If you felt like your puppy needed a breather from their stay because they're getting overwhelmed or they're getting too tired, again, don't feel you have to always end on the thing you started. So if, let's say, for example, there's a loud noise in the environment or there was something that was startling, I'm not going to force my dog to then go back to his place so he can end on the stay. If my puppy's struggling, we can end right where we are and try to bring them back to a place of feeling safe and comfortable. So I would never want to make my dog force them into a down stay, especially if they're not feeling safe or comfortable. So again, place behaviors should be relaxing, feeling, again, comfortable. If it's a forced scenario, we might just be reinforcing that being stuck equals bad things happen. And that's something we want to stay away from. Nice. So right here, I'm going to say all done. I'm going to go ahead and pat the handsome man. If, let's say, he didn't get up, I would go and help him. Once he's up and he's finished his stay, if, let's say, he wants to wiggle a little bit, I sometimes throw out a couple little find its. Ready? Find it. So we can get the handsome guy to take a break from being stuck. And then obviously with an adolescent, the benefit of getting up and moving again, it makes it easier. He forgot how to chew and run. It makes it easier for him to go back and work the place behavior if, let's say, he got to expend some energy between the practice. So right here, he's doing a real nice job. Ready, Zeus? Oh, he says, hold on, lady. I noticed there's a few extra crumbs. Yes, what a good boy checking in. So again, we're going to go back to our little bed. Ready? Bed. And then we might get either a sit or a down, whichever you think your baby's going to be best with. You might even want to have the down. And then we're going to go ahead and apply that stay. As he's getting more comfortable with stationary and getting onto his platform, you don't want to feed for every time he goes and targets the bubble. As he starts to get better, you can also start to feed for then just the stay. So if he breaks, again, no big deal. We're going to get a sit. Nice. We're going to get our down. And now I'm going to tell him to stay. And if let's say he was having a little bit of a hard time, I can always lower the criteria and make it easier for him so the skill becomes attainable once more at a different sort of set of, difficulty versus easy. So if I was ever seeing that he was struggling, he was wiggling, he was getting flustered, I don't want to keep going if, again, my babe is just going to falter and not do well with the situation. So we want to keep building these lovely deposits into behavior we'd like to have happen again. So that way, oh my goodness, chewing. So that way this becomes another very I can't talk today, reliable behavior that he could offer just like he offers his sits and other skills. So again, we're going to tell him once more to stay, just in case, because I can't remember if I mentioned it. And then we're going to add a little bit of movement. So as I'm moving around, I might go and wiggle a few things and just see how he does. And right there, yes, to feed the handsome guy. So again, I would only apply the stay once more if my puppy were to break. So if he breaks from his position, which means he gets up again, I would then go and help him. So right here, I'm just going to go yes and feed again. If, again, he's having a harder moment, so notice how this time he didn't hold it as long as he did the last time. He could be already getting tired. So some folks will be like, oh, you better pull that dog back over there and get him back on the bed, lickety-split. So, ready, Zeus? So it doesn't mean that your puppy can't make mistakes, but if we made mistakes something you have to be scared of, am I really going to create a relationship where my dog wants to come back and practice with me? So there may be times where maybe Mr. Z needs to go out for a potty break. He did go pee, but who knows, maybe he has to go again. So if your babe is sometimes struggling, make sure you're not making training into a chore or something that doesn't seem like fun. Or at times, if we are getting agitated and then getting feisty, we might be then showing the pup that at times we can also be startling and overwhelming and scary. So remember, your babe won't understand you're mad as to what they're doing or what they're, from your perspective, doing wrong. They're just going to be like, well, why were they happy one minute and now scary? So make sure that our relationship, and I'm not saying this is what we're doing with him, but I know sometimes at times we've been told you have to show the dog when they're wrong. And that's really hard on them because they don't understand socially why certain things are okay in the human world and not okay at other points. Remember that a lot of times what they might deem normally culturally acceptable because they're dogs and not people may be things that we as people don't really love. So remember that there is a bit of a culture clash going on a lot of times. So we want to make sure that when we are their teachers, we're making sure the students feel safe while they're learning. So, and again, Mr. Z is doing a splendid job. So he went and retargeted his bed. So maybe I'm just going to make it easy for him, or I'm just going to stay nearby, feed him several snacks while he's on his little mat, and then keep reinforcing that vegging over here has some nice value for him. Good job, sir. It is a bit of a rainy day too, so sometimes the noise on the rooftop is a bit distracting, and sometimes a little bit, weird if they haven't heard this heavy rain before on the flat roof. Nice job. So, but we will give Mr. Z a little breather. I think he did a very nice job working his pattern game, the 1, 2, 3 game, as well as working with his bed and working his place. So we'll go ahead and remember, when you want to end the stay, we don't call them to us. That would be your wait behavior or your cue. So right now, I would feed him his last little snacks or so for the stay. So while he's in the stay, that's when he gets his paycheck, not for leaving. I would say, all done. Ready, Zeus? And if he's all done, we can get up and wiggle. So he's like, oh, but I'm really comfortable. If your puppy gets stuck, because some of them do enjoy staying put and being fed like little prince or a little princess. So if, for example, now we're going to do some grooming, which is always exciting. So, but if let's say your puppy gets stuck, I'm not saying to then pull them off or to yank them off the thing. I sometimes just lure them a little bit with my hand, but I just don't feed for getting up. So if let's say getting off the cot was difficult and you had to do a little find it, not the end of the world, but I would try to make it where most of his reinforcement for the stay is while he's in the stay, not when he gets out of it. Oh my goodness, itchy man. So this is where for the place behavior or working the stay especially, think of stay as freeze tag with room service. So he's getting all of his portions while being stuck. And then when he's all done being in the stay, we go and retrieve our stay little guy from his little statue position and release the guy from his spot. But very nice job, Mr. Z. So we'll give him a little breather from this exercise and we'll work a few more skills.